Welcome to the program. Welcome to the program. This is Cruel and Unusual, where you don't get your 5 minutes back. It's a stupid tagline. We have a stupid tagline, and you don't get any of the time you get. Whatever you spend here, you don't get it back. If you listen to this, it's on your own risk. We're not trying to be self-deprecating, just stating facts. That's not self-deprecating. I don't like self-deprecating. Don't self-deprecate. That gets old. I see people self-deprecating. I see a guy say, I'm not really that smart. I'm not really that smart. I heard a guy say he's not really that smart. Told me that. Said to me, I'm not really that smart. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What do I do with that? I'm thinking, what do I do with this information? This guy's not smart. He said he's not smart. It's not just that he's not smart. Can I take him at his word? Guy said he's not smart. Maybe he is smart. Maybe he's not smart and he doesn't know how not smart he is. How? If he's not smart, can I trust the statement that just came out of his mouth? It's a conundrum. It's a paradox. This is what it is. It's a paradox. You can't have your 5 minutes back, okay? You're not going to get it back. You shouldn't ask that. You don't get time back. Whatever you listen to here, you're wasting your time. You're wasting it a little bit less, though, than you would otherwise. That's what we're saying. We're not going to self-deprecate here. I'm just saying whatever else is out there is only slightly less as good. So I'm not trying to say this is the best show. It is, but it doesn't mean much. It's not self-deprecating because we think we're good. You don't trust anyone that says they're not smart. Don't ever trust someone who says they're not smart. If they say that, assume they're smart. It's called a paradox. It's a conundrum. Somebody says, hey, I'm not smart. I'm not smart. Oh, you know me, I'm an airhead. Somebody says, hey, you know me, I'm an airhead. I'm like, hey, pick it up a little bit, pal. Pick it up. Pick up the game. Let's play. Come on. You're not very bright. I say, I'm not very bright. They don't say that usually. They never say I'm not very bright. That's usually that's what somebody says about them. No one ever says I'm not bright because that's something funny about that. I don't know what it is. But they will say that they're an airhead. Oh, I'm an airhead. Okay, yeah. Oh, you know me, I'm an airhead. What am I going to do with that? What do they expect? When they said that, what do they expect? What do they expect someone to do? Did they wake up and say, I'm not going to get by today. I'm just not going to make it. So I'm going to be up front right away with everyone. All right, I'm a complete airhead, just right out the front there. Oh, well, okay. We know how to... What is that going to change? What does it change? Oh, he's an airhead. You gotta give him some credit. Give him some slack. Cut him some slack. He's an airhead. No, you still have to. You're still here. You still have to be. You're under the same. You're under the same strain as everyone else. You're not going to get away with it. You know me. I know. I don't read much. Well, people that say they don't read much. Well, it's read. Then read. Okay, that's not a joke. People don't like that. That's not self-deprecating. People like to hear self-deprecating jokes because it's because they're there with their spouse. And a lot of times comedians get in fights after the show because a spouse will be jealous of the comedian because their spouse laughed really hard and the spouse doesn't laugh at anything they say. Because by the way, when couples are together, whatever they say, their jokes are not really funny. They laugh they laugh because if they're embarrassed. So, but comedians such as I, actually elicit real laughter, like genuine, authentic, and very real laughter. None of this simulated, embarrassed laughter that says, oh, you know me, I'm not very bright. All right. I have to consider that. You're not bright. Okay, I have to consider that. My friend told me they're not bright. Oh, my friend Joe is not very bright, so now when he gets here, that means you got to treat him extra special and give him more than you would. Yeah, he gets extra special treatment because he said he's not very bright. He's not. He says, "Oh, you know me, I'm not smart." He said, "The guy said me the other day." He said the funniest thing. He said, "This guy says." So there's this guy that I met at Wal-Mart, and I didn't want to go there, but I went there because it's the only place open nearby. But I don't like these places. I don't like going into Walmart. It's the worst place. It feels like if it's something. It feels a little bit like walking into Hades. It's similar. Like landing in hell. Like you step on a. You're definitely gonna step on something and a door is gonna open. You're gonna step on a mat and a door is gonna go wide open, and you're gonna walk into Walmart. I mean, it's got to be part of it. I think it has to be some part of it. Probably the introduction. Hey, what is this? This is hell. Oh, there's no hell. Let's stop that. Okay, so Walmart is hell. Walmart's a bad place. That's what they mean. Hell just means like a place where there's nothing's very good, and it's unfair, and you don't get what you want. That's what that is. So a place where where everything doesn't go your way. And then the other place is where everything always goes your way. So that's what those two are. One place, every single thought you have is wrong, and you're gonna every bad thing ever. Forget about repeating it all. It's you do all over your whole body, all bad things. And then the other one, everything all over your whole body, good things. So make your choice. Make your choice. Make it eat. It's a tough choice. Okay, very tough choice. I was thinking the other day, this guy I heard on TV, one of these preachers flipping the station over there. I was actually in the Walmart flipping the station on one of their budget televisions. It had a problem with it didn't have a good enough resolution, but I was gonna look into getting it to put in my bathroom. But so I'm watching the preacher, and he goes, "Well, we're going to have to go back to the old days when they'd had only two genders. When they had only two genders. Because as far as I can see," I can't do it. I don't know how to. Yeah, I tried. I tried. So this preacher guy gets up there. He goes, "My children can't understand. There's only two genders, and my children, and he says the word transgender. He says it. He actually says the word right there in the show. I'm like, how could he? Yeah. The way he's talking about it is the most dangerous thing in the world. Wait, don't say that word. You're gonna give him ideas." I said, "You're gonna give him ideas." Well, anyway, there's only two genders. He says, "There's only two. Yeah, I think no one. Yeah, binary genders. Two. Yeah." Man, woman, he, thee, they. Yeah, okay. Pronouns, yeah. It's not so hard, though, is it? Is it really hard? Is it really a challenge for your children to figure out? Says he, she, says somebody, "Hey, he." They go, "Whoa, hey, she, pal." And you go, "Okay, hey, she." Someone goes to somebody, "Hey, her." "What do you mean, her? I'd say him. What are you talking about?" "Oh, sorry about that." That's how it is. That's how that would work. I guess in these guys' minds, something else is going on. There's two things. There's about 4 of these pronouns. Maybe. There might be 6, but they, them. But okay, you got you got 6 things, 6 words. You already know every one of those words. You know how they're spelled. I'm pretty sure most of you could use those words constantly anyway, since you always use them all the time. But somehow it's a stretch of the imagination for you to say he or thee or they or they or those. I don't know. What. Okay, you have a problem with pronouns. Did you have problems too with verbs and nouns? The confusion. Oh, the confusion. How do we? What, now they're going to add adverbs to it too? Oh, what about adjectives? An adjective sometimes can be, depending on the participle. Look, you can figure it out. It's easy. You can figure out the pronouns. Pretty simple rule. You use one of the pronouns if the other person says, hey, oh, wait a second, I just want to let you know that I'm actually she. Then, from there on, I mean, it's up to you. It's just like if someone tells you their name, you might forget their name too, probably. So, a good way to remember someone's gender, is to think of their genitals for over 5 minutes. And they're like, yeah, that's going to, my kids are going to be so confused. Yeah, and then they go to, I assume they're religious at this point. I was watching the show, it was a religious guy. He had the southern accent with, he was emotional. He had a lot of emotional content in his, well, I'll pray, and, he was full of emotionally charged content. So, I assume he says kids are going to be confused. His kids are confused. Every kid's confused. So, then he goes on. I say, you know what's more confusing? I don't know how I introduced that, but so I say, wait, all right, I don't know if I'm going to say it. Somebody's going to say it. I don't know how to introduce this, but in the church, has anyone ever heard the story of Abraham? Abraham is this guy, follows God. He's married to his wife Sarah, who's also his sister. Right? Everyone knows it. How do you explain that to your kids? That's what I was wondering. Hey, the main guy, main patriarch, first one who ever listened to God. Yeah, God told him, get out of Ur right now. Get out of there. Go on. Well, he said, look, get your stuff. Get ready. He gave him some time. You're going to go. You're getting out of town. Yeah. It's like in his head. So then he goes. That's what happened. The whole thing came from that. All of this. The whole reason that they go in every Sunday. Everywhere they go, wherever they go in because of this event. Okay? Because this guy Abraham, who's married to his wife, who is his sister. Okay? Right? His wife is his sister. So, he married his sister. She married her brother. So, right? There you have it. So, I guess that's not that confusing, though. I guess your kids won't be confused by that. I'm being sarcastic. I think they will, actually. Somebody married, usually don't get married. I can't make up something sarcastic. It's already there. It's in the context. So then you probably think, oh, well, that's just one aspect of... Okay. So then he goes on, and I don't see how... Yeah, this is in the church. This is content of the church. I don't see how it doesn't fall under grooming, but I'm just a lay person here reporting the facts. I'm just reporting the facts. Abraham, him and his wife, his sister, Sarah, who should be treated a little better than she is, but she's not allowed to talk to God because she's a woman. So she says, look, I can't have any kids apparently because they were unable to conceive. It's an old timeless story. Unable to conceive with your sister. Pretty typical, pretty common. Kids understand it readily. I tell kids, so there was this guy and he was married to his sister and they couldn't have any kids. You understand, right? They're like, back of my hand, I've heard that 1,000 times. All right. They weren't even moved. Playing Pokemon. All right. Next part of the story, she goes, Tell you what, just take my maid, make a baby with her. Why not? We'll have a child with her. That's normal. We'll take okay, how about we take the person that we thought should be dead and decided, no, let's not kill him. Let's just make him work with us forever. Remember that? We had that thing, and then these guys, we said, you people, we're going to either kill you or you're going to work with us forever. And they said, well, I guess we'll work with you. So now they work for us all the time. So one of those ladies, we'll get her to have a baby. That's normal. Kid's like, yeah, I get that. Pretty straightforward. So then he has a kid by the maid. He has a child by the maid. Has a child, but no problem. No problem there. Yeah, they explain it away every way. Yeah, they're like, yeah, well, it's okay. She said, because Sarah said it was okay. It's his sister, so it's okay. It's his wife and his sister. I don't know how they got it exactly. I don't know how they got to this point. I haven't had a lot of time to analyze the story, but I know at this point they have the kid, and they have the first kid. So basically, pretty normal. Next thing, they have Ishmael, and well, if you think about it, it wasn't that long after that God's talking to Abraham again. He says, hold on, Sarah, I'm going to go outside in the other tent. I'm going to go get this. God's talking. So she said, well, be sure to ask him about those kids of ours. We got to find out. He's like, okay, don't worry. He goes out there. It's all a pretty straightforward story. God says, hey, you know what? Sarah's going to be pregnant. So, just so Abraham, because he's like 100 years old, and Sarah is like the same age as him because she's his sister. He starts laughing out loud, just cracks up laughing. So God was pretty upset. This is a fact. God was upset. You're laughing. You shouldn't be laughing. Come on, don't laugh. He said, come on, God, look at it. I mean, I've never seen anyone that was that old ever have a baby before, so and God's like, all right, okay, I get it. I think God understood because he's like, well, you're a person, you're not a God, so you don't know anything. Probably. So he says, okay. Oh, another thing. So then his maid has a baby, so now that's, pretty much that's what he looks at his son is going to be his heir and everything else, but now God says, nope, Sarah's going to be with child, and it's like, okay, whatever, I'm sure it's not going to happen now. At this point, he already doesn't believe. So, but no, sure enough, Sarah has, of course, we all know. I hope we know, because if you didn't know these stories, oh my God. So, if you didn't know these stories, you can't live. All right. These have the secret of all life in these stories. Okay, so, at this point, the secret comes out. Well, it's not, okay. So here's what happens. So you're probably thinking, well, it couldn't possibly get much worse or much strange. Well, I think it does. I think if you pay attention, you're going to think it gets worse. So he says, okay, that's great. So now sure enough. Okay. Then we get to the event. Great day, I guess. They don't talk about it much in the Bible, but there was a day when Sarah gave birth to Isaac. Hey, look, all right, this is it. This is the big moment. Remember when we were in Ur? They're like, remember all those. God told us to get out of there, and then there was that other story too before that. Remember? We forgot to mention. There was a story before where they had gone to visit the king of Egypt, and perfectly sane story here where he goes to Egypt or whatever it is, and there's a king there, or it's a king in some other place in the kingdom. And he says, oh, this is my sister. He introduces Sarah as his sister, and his reason is because he thinks the king's going to kill him to marry Sarah. Okay. Well, at least it has some literary effect, but all right, we're getting into muddy water here. All right, forget it. Forget that. That was really, the story never gets good. All right. They say, okay, now, eventually, Isaac is growing up, and he's young, but his older brother is always overshadowing him, because he's, so Sarah has no empathy whatsoever she says, she has no empathy for the other kids. She says, you know what, you got to get rid of them. So she tells him to dump him in the desert, and so that's what he does. He dumps a 15-year-old, abandons him, basically abandonment, child abandonment. You've heard of that. I mean, your kids will understand it pretty well when they hear that. It's pretty straightforward. You get abandoned, and your life is ruined. And then you're going to die. Who knows what's going to happen to you? You're going to end up... There's millions of kids end up this way all over the world. Yeah, that's the way the world is. Your kids will understand. Just tell them. Say, yeah, if you ever get separated from you and you're not of age yet, they're going to screw you over completely, and you're not going to have a life. They're going to take your life away. So you better hope I live until you're an adult and much past that, because in this world, you cannot stand a chance because there is nothing protecting you. All right, yeah, kids can get that. Kids get it. They'll be more careful. So in the next scene, yeah, they abandoned him. I think God decided to go ahead and take care of the other kid. Yeah, no help of Abraham. Abraham did nothing, and so Ishmael survived. So at least we can take away that. Take away that solace that he survived. And then the next part, I can't even say the next part. I was going to tell the next part of this story. I was thinking this is going to be the big closer. I mean, some of you know what it is, but, I'm not going to do it because I think it could be considered child grooming. It could be considered, they could be flagged. I mean, okay, I'll tell you. So then God says, all right, hey, he calls him again. You think the story's over. He calls him again. He says, oh, yeah, hey, everything's going pretty good. God, thanks for, hey, Sarah says, thanks a lot. You really fixed this up with, the kid and everything. And now it looks like we're going to have a generation or whatever, like you said. And I think that's kind of cool. Actually, we thought about it. We thought about how there's not a lot of people and it might be good. Can you imagine the kind of thing this might take off into and stuff? He's thinking, this is going to be big. Oh, yeah. God said, yeah, you know what? It's going to be like, you see the stars? It's going to be like the sand and the star, everything. You're going to have more. Yeah, it's going to be more of you than the sands and the stars. It's great. I could see why they got behind it. So then he says, oh, yeah, but there's one thing. There's one thing, though. This is where all the kids are going, yeah. This is where the part that makes a lot of sense, and I can get it. So then God goes, all right, you're going to have to kill Abraham. You're going to have to kill Isaac. All right, I blew it. Okay, God goes, you're going to have to kill Isaac. So what I want you to do, basically burn him up. I basically want you to stab him to death and then burn him up. That's what God said, right? That's what God, after all that, after the story. So you're reading the story, as a kid, you're probably going to, sounds pretty normal. This is just like our world that we live in. It reflects exactly the kind of things we're dealing with. So, that happened. I mean, they basically spell out human sacrifice right there in the book. They basically allegorically detail child sacrifice. Human sacrifice right there, codified right there in the middle of the book. Yep. I guess students of seminary are very well aware. I guess they're not too, I don't think kids understand any of that, actually. I think they might be afraid from it. I think that story is actually much more scary than finding out that somebody who was born under one sex or gender is now the other gender, or I think someone changing their gender is actually significantly less strange than just one story. And the whole purpose of that building and the purpose of that man is to tell that story. So I think it could be projection. I think a lot of what you hear from the churches where they say that they got to destroy people or they got to work up the nerve to do harm to people, that's what they're saying in the churches right now. They're saying, oh yeah, you got to get ready for battle and stuff like this. They're wrapping up the violent rhetoric. It's a fact. I didn't make it up. Well, I think they're projecting. I actually think that they know they should be destroyed. All right, well, that's my time. I'm going to have to get out of here. So make sure that you like, subscribe, and press notifications. Have a good evening, and thanks for listening. Make sure to leave your comments down in the description down there. Thanks. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to read them.